Hello and welcome to another tutorial by My Property app. Today we're going to be looking at how you can analyze a buy to flip. So first, when you're on the home page on your home screen here, you can go to analyze a deal. Here you will have three options: flip, buy to let, or multi-let. Today we're going to look at analyzing a flip. Now a flip, for those of you who don't know, is when you buy a property at a low price, you add some value to the property either by renovating the kitchen, the bathroom, modernizing the property, and you sell for a profit. In so you flip the property over a 6, 9 or 12-month period for a profit. So let's start. You click add a new deal. I always like to click this button here, expand/compress, because it makes the analysis part of your app a little bit bigger. You can upload a property photo so that it becomes a little bit more personalized. On the left hand side here, you've got your description, address, area, city, etc., and also your deal status, either active, in negotiation, pending, secured, or sold. So we'll say in negotiation. Then you've got your 7 steps: comparable analysis all the way through to summary. Comparable analysis is the section of the analysis where you find out, if I had to renovate this property and turn it into a top quality property, how much could I resell it for, and also what kind of profit am I expecting. Your buying costs are anything related with buying. Your refurb costs are the cost to renovate the property. Other costs are unique costs that are part of property but don't always appear in every deal. Then your finance cost, your holding cost, which is the cost of holding the property, and your selling cost, which is your estate agent's fee. And then a summary tab, which tells you whether this is a good deal or not. And we've added some tool tips here so that you can just get a sense of what's happening on the app. First, in your beginning of the app, you're going to explain: is it a house, a townhouse, vacant land, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many living rooms, carports, etc. Okay, here, asking price. Now the asking price is the price that the person is asking for. Right, so if we just hover over here, it'll say the price the seller has listed the property at. Let's say the seller has listed it at R1,000,000, and we want to make a profit on this deal of 50,000 Rand. What the app's going to do for us is it's going to take the resale value and all the information that we're giving it plus the profit, and it's going to tell us what do we need to offer on this deal in order to make a profit of 50,000 Rand. Average sales comparables. Now the asking price is R1,000,000. That's not to say that the property is valued at R1,000,000. So perhaps you pull a Lightstone report, and the Lightstone reports that says that the property could sell for 1.3 million in good condition, and maybe you speak to one agent, and the agent says you can sell for 1.4 million. Okay, average being 1.35 million then, because the average of the Lightstone report and the agent is 1.35 million. So that's what we could resell it for. The asking price is what the owner wants. The resale value is what the value of the property could be after renovations. Okay. Step number 2 is we go to our buying costs. You can click here. It'll take you to the Uber calculator. The Uber calculator allows you to put in some details, and it spits out the transfer costs. So let's say the purchase price was R1,000,000. If we were going to loan the full amount, 900,000. It's either freehold or sectional title. So that's the nature of the status. It depends. If the property is a freestanding house, it will be freehold. If it's in an estate, it's called sectional title. The seller is not registered for VAT unless they have this in a company and the company generates more than R1,000,000 Rand turnover. Status of purchase: are you buying it in your personal name, company, CC or trust? I'd say company. Calculate. There we go. Our total buying costs are 51,786. So the bond registration, I'm going to round it up to 27,000. And then here the transfer cost is 25,000. You can break it down and say the transfer duty is 3,000 and then the rest is transfer costs. I'll just put it all in here and say 26,000. Then you've got a bunch of other costs as well: your sourcing fee, your outstanding debts, levies, etc. If you did purchase it at auction, then you've got some other auction costs that you need to fill in. If you didn't, then just leave that out. So your buying costs here are 53,000. Refurbishments. Now let's imagine that this property had a lot of refurbs that needed to happen. So you're going to put 15,000 into the kitchen, 7,000 into the bathroom. You're going to retile a few places. You're going to repaint. Electrical needs work. The plumbing needs work. You also need to get maybe an architect on board, so you're going to pay them for their time. And also you're going to have to get about 15% labor costs in there. Maybe even damp proofing. Let's say that there's been some damp and some roofing issues. 15,000. Sorry. which gives us, and then a contingency. Very important to put a contingency in place. You want to make sure that you've always got a bit of a contingency, because builders always go, well, not always, but there's a good chance that a builder will go over budget and over time, because inevitably, as you start a renovation, you start to uncover things that you didn't know were problems. When you rip out the kitchen, you'll see that there was actually a damp issue. So that's why oftentimes building does take a little bit longer. Always put a little contingency in place. So we're saying, based on the figures I've put in there, let's say 130,000 Rand renovation costs. Other costs, things like eviction, zoning, subdivision, things that aren't necessarily very common but could happen. Finance costs. Here's where you're going to say, I'm going to get a 90% loan from the bank at a 10% interest rate over 20 years. So my bond repayment to the bank would be 10,000. That is to loan 90% of the value of the deal. Okay? Now let's say that we're also going to get an investor, and we'll call them investor 1, and we're going to loan like 100,000 Rand from them, maybe 10% interest rate over a 5-year period is going to be interest and capital, interest only, or and interest capital. Let's say interest and capital. If that doesn't make sense for you, just go and Google it, because what you'll notice is that monthly interest and capital is paying both the monthly interest and the capital every month. That is how the banks work. Monthly interest means you don't pay the capital amount until the end of the project, which means you pay only interest every month, and then at the end you pay the capital. Maybe we should actually take that approach. That should be quite a good approach. Or end interest and capital. End interest and capital means at the end of the project you pay interest and capital. Okay, so if you're taking monthly interest and capital, it means we have to pay our investor 20,000 Rand per month for the duration of the loan. Okay. Holding costs. Now you're going to have your holding period here. This is how long you anticipate to hold the property for. Let's say you're going to hold it for, I don't know, 6 months. Okay, monthly insurance you need to pay is 100 Rand. The rates and taxes is 250. It's in an estate, so 500 per month, and then 200 for electricity and water. Essentially what we're working out here is how much is it going to cost you to hold this property while you renovate and wait for it to sell. If you're holding it for 6 months and you have to pay all of these fees every month, including your finance costs, remember the cost to the bank and the cost to the investor, your total holding cost for the 6 months is 190,000 Rand. That is huge. Selling costs, okay, you've got here your furnishing costs. If you wanted to sell this property furnished, you could do that. Let's say 5%, which includes VAT. Legals, maybe you're going to pay an extra, I don't know, 3,000 Rand for some legal costs. Your total selling cost is then 80,000. So your money left in the deal, assuming that you've gotten the 90% loan from the bank as well as a loan from the investor, your money in the deal is 191,000. Summary. Now, this is where it's going to tell us what we need to do. So if the asking price is 1 million, the resale value is 1.3 million, and our total cost in the deal is 4,385, we need to offer 860,000 Rand in order to make a profit of 50,000 Rand. If you make a profit of 50,000 Rand, your return on investment will be 29. So essentially what this app is doing, and I know it might seem a bit confusing, it's taking all the input you've given it and said, if you want to achieve this profit with the input you've given it, your offer needs to be 861,000. That's what's going to guarantee you a profit of 50,000 Rand. And if you make a profit of 50,000 Rand, assuming you've paid off all your expenses, you will be left with a return on investment of 29.24%. From there you can save or generate an investment proposal and try and raise the funding. Another great thing about the app is that it shows you what your scenarios are. So if your bond interest rate had to change, how would it affect your deal? You could also see the holding period. So the holding period at 6 months means you're going to get a return on investment of 29%. If the holding period goes to 9 months, you start to lose money. So now that is a very important thing for you to know, and in this case you might want to then budget an extra or a longer holding period with the builder, or maybe put in a bit more fat budget for a longer holding period. So you might go here to your holding costs and say, actually I'm going to put it at 9 months. If you go back to your summary tab, it'll now tell you that your required offer price is actually 777,000. Because that is a big risk, you might want to reduce that slightly, and then essentially you're asking for a discount of 22%, which is relatively expected in the property game. So ladies and gentlemen, that is how you would go about analyzing a buy to flip. If you have any questions or concerns, please go and check out our frequently asked questions section. Otherwise, go check out our other tutorial videos. We've got plenty of them under the tutorial video section. Or alternatively, you can email us on support@myapp.online. That's support@myapp.online. Thanks.